onto both of your favorite subjects, I suppose, is the NFL Combine that came live from Lucas Oil Stadium. Some record-breaking numbers that happened. Lorenzo Styles, fastest safety 40-yard dash in over 20 years.
I think you're going to be saying fastest quite a lot here, Fred.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that because it's just popped up on X.
It's the fastest
combine ever. Yes,
at all positions.
At all positions, which is crazy. We're not going to micro-examine all the players. We're talking maybe more about the combine in a full. So for people who don't know what the combine is, it is a showcase. It is a talent show. It is X Factor. It is Britain's Got Talent for college players to go and show off what they can do in an athletics environment and also an interview thing as well. What you might not know is actually teams then actually get them in a couple of weeks' time to come to their facilities and they do it all again, basically. So that has called into question a little bit with this combine this season, because though we've just said about the fastest, with NFL, it is just getting more athletic. These guys are getting taller, stronger, faster, more instinctive. The peak athleticism that the NFL has ever been is we are living it now, and it just gets better and better and better with these colleges getting better and better as well, and more money being funded to them, more money being funded into the NFL. The problem is, Adam, that the combine it went from really nothing to a be-all, end-all to sort of, we talked about it prior. You were talking about one of the topics that you're going to be doing. I'm sorry to reveal it, but the running backs that you guys are going to put out very soon. Not many of them turned up. And we're seeing now a little bit more of a trend of players not going. Fernando Mendoza, who is going to potentially be the number one pick quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, didn't even throw a ball. Why is this? What's going on with this? Why is this the case that players are now almost not as invested in the combine as it felt like, 4 or 5 years ago?
Well, I mean, specifically for Mendoza, he doesn't need to. Is probably what the answer is for that. It's just that, there is no other quarterback around that's going to come close to him, and so why bother? He's proved everything by putting it on the tape, hasn't he, in games? So why bother wasting your time running around in your underpants, running around doing 40 times? There's no point, is there? So I think that's basically what it comes down to. It's a case of, why risk getting an injury doing a 40 time trying to go as fast as you can when you've put everything on tape? I think that's probably what the argument is. I haven't watched any of it, so I'm the worst person to talk to when it comes to the combine, because I literally haven't seen any of it. And
why is that not? Why is it not dragging you to a television? Because when you talk about Fernando Mendoza, then yes, we know he's going to be.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a bit of a anomaly of a draft where really we've got one absolutely first round quarterback, and then maybe a few that dip into the first round. We don't know that yet. Again, if people want to know that, I'd point you directly to Andrew and Adam's show that was phenomenal for you to find out about that. Is it because this draft this year is just not that exciting? But at the same time, maybe there's an opportunity if you see players that are really pushing to try and get their draft stock up. And, it's not just NFL fans, the fantasy football world out there, NFL, with your rookie drafts that are going to happen immediately after the draft. What isn't that? Why is it not exciting? Why is it not getting you to a television?
Well, I think for fantasy football fans, it really isn't that exciting this year. I don't think there are as many players as what there would normally be. I think there are players that look like they could be very good, but compared to previous years, the depth is just not there. So I think there is that. For me, I think it's interesting. It's something that we've been doing this podcast for 5 years now, the three of us doing it, and it's one of them things where I think once you first start doing it and you start getting involved in a lot more stuff like this, you do watch more, and you do watch more content regarding it and look into it. And I used to watch quite a lot of the combine. I don't think it actually makes any difference, a lot of what they do. I think that teams have ideas already. I think the interviews that are done at the combine, I think that might make a difference. But I think the actual running 40 yards without any pads on doesn't really mean anything. And it's like some of these sort of, there's the 3-cone drill. That's something that is kind of sometimes worth seeing, and you can see whether or not a player can separate quickly from and sort of move from one angle to another quickly. That's kind of sort of interesting. But the amount that a guy can bench press, what does it matter? Like good. Like, I'm not saying don't do it, but it's just, what does it matter in the grand scheme of things? And I think that's why it kind of almost becomes a little bit like none of it really makes a difference. And I think that teams, I think sometimes you can be fooled into thinking that players are better than what they are. And I think we saw that a little bit last year, and I think that you saw that with Matthew Golden a little bit, where he was such a lot of people had him 5th round, 6th round pick, and then he sort of like, there's hype, and then the combine happens. It's like, oh my God, he's amazing. He can run really quick. And then he becomes a 1st round pick. That doesn't mean that he's not going to be able to do anything, but you just sort of think he's not that value. And so it's like, one of the ones that me and Andrew spoke about when we did the mock draft, Andrew's mock draft, the first one. And we got to like pick 7 or 8, and I was saying this is where I think teams start taking Sonny Styles. That was me being like hyperbole a little bit to sort of poke the bear and see what he said, kind of thing.
For people who don't know, linebacker from Ohio State.
But now I saw a mock draft. He's going to Tennessee at 4. What the hell? Why? He's not, like, don't get me wrong, he's clearly a really good player, but why is he so, like, I was taking the mickey as putting him sort of like low, like 7, 8, 9 sort of thing. And all of a sudden now we've got so-called industry experts going, oh no, he's going to Tennessee at 4. And you just sort of think, what? Because he can run quickly.
For me, I saw plenty of draft analysts putting Sonny Styles in the top 10 pre-combine myself, so I'm not going to.
But not like that.
I'm not going to pick out Sonny Styles as in the player. I'm just more.
No, not at all.
I get where you come from with the concept of like, So I in my notes here, Andrew, I'll move on to you because you'll know these players in a bit more depth. Not that, like I said, we're not going to micro focus on this, but Jeff Caldwell, wide receiver out of Cincinnati. Really fantastic combine. Looks like he could have really promoted his stock up. On the flip side of it, Malachi Fields, wide receiver from Virginia, didn't have such a great one. Looks like he could be falling a little bit. I don't know whether that's from round 3 to round 6, or whether that's round 1 to round 5. I vaguely know, but I'm just putting it out there. Do you think? We'll pull back to Adam's point a little bit about the rising and lowering of your draft stock and people like Golden. Did you honestly think that teams do take this much out of it? Because is it more that it's just the interviews are better there and they get a lot more from when they have them? Or is it more of a they see the burst a little bit there and then go, right, you know what, we need to see more of this. We'll put him through a bit more rigorously for more rigorous drills in-house, interview him some more, and that gives a bit more of a mind. Because these let's not forget, all these teams have had numerous scouts all over the country at multiple hundreds of thousands of games this season.
Yeah, I say this to Adam all the time when we're going through all the prospects, that watch the tape, go back. I think it's more valuable for you to watch 2024 tape than it is how fast did they run at the combine. I think that's a big thing for me, because this is a production thing is a problem, because we're seeing people, as you said, Golden. There was no production in college. He ran really quickly. All of a sudden, he was a great prospect. The couple of the names that you've just mentioned, Malachi Fields, I think Daniel Jeremiah has got him as a first-round talent. And I'm confused at that. Adam will surely be confused at that, because he looks like Keon Coleman 2.0 in terms of his style of play. and then Caldwell, Cincinnati, he's on no one's boards to talk about. So the talk of him moving higher than Fields, that baffles me, because that I think you've got to have your pre-combine thoughts of the production and what they did at college, and then your only thing you're using the combine for is to confirm whether you were right about certain aspects of this player. I think in terms of offense, no transitional things of anything the guys do at the combine transitions to the NFL, other than the gauntlet, maybe, for me. I think that's the only one for me, because you see them catching the ball and how fast they are with the ball in their hands. I think none of them transition to the NFL. Whereas on the defense, I think there is somewhat of a transitional thing with this. So you've got the production from the player. I like that you're seeing verticals, because if they're playing linebacker or safety or like that hybrid role, whether they're big and they're quick and they can get down to the player, whether they can jump high and tip the ball, I think that all is transitional to the NFL. I think that confirms they've got production. They're really explosive. So I do think it helps the defenders more than the offensive players in terms of this as a skill set. So I think there is a place for it. And I do think the interviews, as Adam says, are very, very interesting to listen to the players, because I think personality and traits. I heard, can't remember who, whether it's Field Yates or something, talking about AI taking over from scouts in the future, and they're going to lose their jobs. AI can give you all the stats and everything, but I think seeing someone in person and finding out their background and finding out how did they get on with their other teammates? Did they steal things from shops? Things like that. You can't find that without scouting. I think that is really, really key, and getting to see these players and talk to these players for maybe the first time for some of the execs at teams is really valuable. And the combine is the first time they get to do that.